We've been talking for months about me wanting to meet his family and how important this is to me. And he finally did text his brothers and arranged for me to meet them and his mother.
So it's finally happening. After 7 long years, Nicola is finally going to be honest with his family about his relationship with Misha. She's not just a friend, she's his girlfriend. Right? Right? Well, not so fast.
I want you to speak in Arabic so your mother can understand.
I don't want to, Misha. I don't like to say to people about my private life.
Nicola's turned into a coward at the worst possible time. But before we see where that leaves them, let's see how they got here. So we left Nicola showing how severely lacking he is in the supportive partner department. And while Misha ums and ahs over whether or not she should stay with him, it's starting to feel like she's only here because she's invested so much time already.
I can't get my mind off of how it's always been for 7 years. And that's why I'm still here.
Misha is 43 years old. She's invested 7 years of her life into this relationship. And while she's by no means old, she might be left feeling like having already given so much, it would be a shame to erase it all and start again at square one. Which explains why she's in this position now. She's here trying to make the best of a bad relationship. A relationship where the guy doesn't even acknowledge her as his girlfriend. But we'll get to that shortly. For today, Nicola is taking Misha with him to enjoy his favourite pastime, fishing.
The first time in my life that I'm taking a woman to fish with me is awful.
This isn't the first time that we've seen Nicola acting a little misogynistic, and I'd hazard to guess it's probably not going to be the last time either. But in all fairness, fishing doesn't exactly seem to be an activity that Misha thinks much of. And as for Nicola, well, he doesn't have the patience to teach her.
I could definitely catch fish. Because all you're doing is throwing the thing in the water.
Maybe, but...
It's not that serious. It's fishing. No fish is going to eat right there. That's right by the rocks.
Nicola loves fishing. He's proud of the skill involved. But Misha, perhaps in a jokey way, is being quite negative about the hobby. She thinks it's easy. She thinks he's being too serious about it. And despite not having any experience, she thinks she knows better than him. But when she eventually falls over and cuts her leg on the rock, Nicola panics.
I don't need it.
No, you are bleeding. No, let's go. Forget.
I need the sea to wash it.
Forget from the fishing. I don't want fishing anymore.
Nico.
I don't want fishing anymore.
Stop it.
Oh
It's fine, yeah.
Now, the cuts look worse than they really are, and Misha's a tough girl. She wants to just keep on fishing, but Nicola is fussing. He's not used to having to look after someone while he's fishing, and I don't think he's enjoying the inconvenience of it. So, with that in mind, today's fishing trip is cut short, and Misha reveals some huge news.
I'm going to meet your mom and your brothers tomorrow. Are you excited about that?
Are you happy?
Are you happy?
Misha. Honestly, it's making me a little bit nervous.
Now, up until now, Nicola hasn't been honest about his relationship with Misha. His mum has no idea. Like, she thinks they're friends. She doesn't know they're talking about potentially getting engaged. The thing is, as far as Misha's concerned, meeting Nicola's family is a non-negotiable. It has to happen, and it seems like Nicola has finally listened.
What would your biggest fear be?
Oh, what my mom will think about you, what she will say, oh, don't marry Misha, marry a woman from here, why you need a woman from America.
This meet and greet is going to be a little awkward because Nicola's mum only speaks Arabic, so Nicola's going to be in charge of translating. But just how honestly will he translate? From everything we've learnt about his mum so far, he seems to be a bit afraid of her. He seems very worried about her brutal honesty.
Because I really don't want to hurt your feeling. My mom can say, mean word. My mom can be a very difficult woman. She's 70 years old, and she's set in her way.
Yeah, Nicola's definitely worried about how his scary 70-year-old Arabic mother is going to take the news that Misha's a divorcee with 2 children. Definitely not the virgin she'd have liked Nicola to marry. But someone should probably tell her she might need to readjust her expectations. pardon the pun, but her 46-year-old son is hardly the catch of the day.
I don't want to tell to my mom that you're divorced, have 2 kids, because then they will crazy me, not you. How can you marry this girl? She's not a virgin.
That is definitely brutal to hear, but at least Nicola's preparing Misha for the very worst. If that's what she goes in expecting, it can only get better from there, right? Now the problem is, Misha is already concerned that Nicola is ashamed of her. She's raised this with him in the past, so she makes it very clear that she's not prepared to lie about her past, her children, or anything about her life. She is who she is, and she just hopes that he's proud of her.
My hope is that you can be just as proud of who I am as I am.
I am, Misha.
Now, I don't exactly think that Nicola's ashamed of Misha, but I get the impression he's got that kind of personality where he'd rather avoid something rather than be troubled by it. If he knows there's a negative reaction in store, he'd rather just not have the conversation. But that's the thing, how does he know for sure that his mum is going to be negative about Misha? For all he knows, she might be over the moon that her son is finally going to get married. Either way, one thing's definitely for sure. She's about to have the shock of her life.
I basically hide Misha 7 years this relationship, so that will be like heart attack for my mom. Like atomic bomb that I'm dropping on my mom.
It's interesting that Nicola is kind of treating this whole thing like a joke. He shows no remorse or guilt for lying to his mum for so long. That surely isn't very Catholic of him, is it? Despite living with her, he doesn't seem to have a huge amount of respect for her, and maybe this stems from the fact that his mum and the rest of his family aren't as devout in their religious beliefs as he is.
My family, they are not devout Catholic. Just my grandmother, everybody else, they don't have Jesus, they don't know God.
So even though Nicola doesn't seem particularly close with his family, he knows how important this is for Misha. That's the only reason why he's making this effort, but he understands that there are risks involved.
At the same time, I know family mean a lot to Misha. So I worry if this meeting will be badly, I think it's going to be a problem for Misha.
What happens if Misha doesn't get the approval of his family? Would that be a deal breaker for her? Well, when we join them the following day, Misha reveals that it's actually the opposite. She's worried it might be a deal breaker for Nicola.
It is incredibly important to me that Nicolas family likes me because their opinions of me are going to weigh heavily on him.
Are they, though? Like, if it's been 7 years and he hasn't bothered to tell them about you, he either doesn't like you that much or he doesn't value them that much. Let's not forget, he's already suggested they get married in secret. He's totally happy to marry Misha without his family even knowing. So how much can their opinion really matter to him? Either way, filled with apprehension, Nicola takes Misha to his family home. This is where he lives with his mother Nadia. And it starts off really well.
Misha!
Hi, Nadia. Oh, these are for you.
Thank
Tell her
you.
these are. Oh, you're welcome.
Thank you very much.
Nadia seems really friendly so far. Perhaps that's because she's under the impression that Misha's just a friend. Or maybe it's because Nicola's given us totally the wrong idea about his mum. So will her attitude change the more the truth comes out? Well, we'll soon see. But for Misha, this isn't her first rodeo. She knows what she's doing. After all, she's had to meet her partner's parents in the past. So what's the best way to worm your way into a mama's heart? Well, one thing that can definitely help is to compliment the cooking.
كتير منيحة.
أنا
ريحة الأكل.
Yes.
Nadia cook.
Sit, Misha.
Oh, okay.
Sit down.
Oh, okay.
But now that the niceties are out of the way, an awkwardness descends into the apartment. Now remember, Nadia and Misha can't really communicate with one another. Nadia's probably wondering what this is even all about. After all, Nicola has never brought home a girl to meet her before in 46 years. So surely, deep down, She must have an inkling as to what's going on.
نيكولا ولا مرة جاب حدا على البيت، بس نيكولا فاجأني قال لي يما بدي أجيب واحدة لعندي بعرفها مبينة حبوبة بعرفش هيا ولا أحكي معه.
This meeting is supposed to be Nicola's chance to be honest with his mum, to introduce the love of his life for what she is, not a friend, a girlfriend, a potential life partner, the woman he wants to spend the rest of his days with. But when the time comes to sit down and make those introductions, Nicola acts like Misha's asking him to do something ridiculous.
You don't have to speak with mommy too much.
Nicola, I need to talk to your mom.
About what?
Just will you make an introduction of who I am to you?
Misha.
What on earth did Nicola think that this meeting was for? Why is he telling Misha that she doesn't need to bother speaking to her? Why is he acting like making a proper introduction is the bane of his existence? What's wrong with him? Why is he acting like a little kid? Now, his mum can clearly sense that this isn't quite right. Something's very wrong here. So she excuses herself and goes back to the kitchen, back to preparing food. And in the meantime, this is when Nicolas Brothers arrive.
Hello.
Hi.
Hi, Mandy.
Nice to meet you. Very nice to meet you, yes.
Hi, Misha.
How are you? Nice to meet you.
Nicola's younger brother, Mickey, knows that he's been chatting to Misha as a friend. He at least knows of her existence, which is more than can be said about his older brother, Andy. Andy had no idea about Misha until Nicola organised this lunch. And Nicola's fear is that whilst all might seem nice and friendly on the surface, as soon as they discover the true reason for this meeting, it might all turn pear-shaped.
Middle East people are very hospitable, but once I explain to them who is Misha, what she is to me, what her status, things will start to fall down.
Now, Nicola's nerves have been steadily growing all day. Now that this has all become very real, now that everyone's in a room together, he's starting to panic. I feel like his face says it all. He regrets organising this lunch. He just doesn't want to be there. He doesn't want to do this. And so, he doesn't do it.
I want you to speak in Arabic so your mother can understand.
I don't want to, Misha. I don't like to say to people about my private life.
When Nicola's brother asks Misha about herself, she turns to Nicola and asks him to translate. She wants everyone to understand, but Nicola point blank refuses. He doesn't want to feel uncomfortable, so he's quite happy to throw Misha under the bus and go back on his promises to her. It's really, really awkward to watch, so I can only imagine how Misha feels right now.
Why are you reacting the way that you are? Why do you feel tense?
Because this is who I am, Misha.
Nicola has just proved yet again that regardless of the consequences, he will always put himself first in this relationship. He's completely oblivious to how Misha's feeling right now. He doesn't care. And that's the crux of the matter, isn't it? Nicola's gone his whole life being single. The idea of catering to other people, putting them first, is just an inconvenience for him. It's got to the stage now where you've really got to question whether or not you can teach an old dog new tricks. It really does seem like it's too late for him to change his ways. And so, regardless of how many years Misha has invested into this relationship, I really think the time has come for her to cut bait and run.